What is up, everybody? We're back for another episode of Against.The.Galaxy podcast. I got the whole crew with me here today. I got Nicky.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I got Mike.
What's going on?
I got Eric.
Hey, everyone.
I got Nick.
Yo, what's up, guys?
And I'm Will, and we're counting down the days to Vegas. We only got about a week and a half left, if that, by the time this podcast comes out. And I know we are all itching to get these games of Star Wars in. But before we get to all that, we're going to shout out the social medias. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, hit us up on Discord, and of course, do the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you're telling your friends about us. We are doing pretty good on the podcast thing, but we want to keep growing. We want to reach more ears and share our thoughts with more people. So we do that with your guys' help. We really appreciate it. But enough of that. Let's get into the meat of the podcast. We had two tournaments, which, while not the biggest, did give us some kind of idea on what the meta could be like going into Vegas. We're seeing a lot of interesting stuff here between the two different top eights. Han Blue at the top is obviously the thing that's going to catch the most people's eyes, as that was one of the decks that people are expecting to have a really heavy presence in Vegas. So seeing those two perform well at these tournaments is obviously a sign that a lot of people are going to be right. We definitely got some other interesting leader and base combinations down here. Any of this stuff standing out to you guys the most?
Yeah, a deck that I didn't think was going to be very good. Maul and any color. So to see that put up a third place in the win-a-box tournament is very interesting. I'm excited to look at that deck a little more in depth.
I mean, it's interesting that there's only one Sabine in the two top eights. Kind of seeing a downfall of a deck that's been riding high since the game's inception.
Yeah, I think going into Vegas, pretty much all the main Sabine players have been a little bit down on it. There's a lot of new tools, especially in this force throw meta, that these decks are just playing a lot of tools that are, able to beat Sabine on a couple different fronts. And it seems like we're going into a very mid-range format where aggro traditionally struggles into mid-range. So seeing mid-range as the top of the format, it doesn't surprise me too much to see Sabine's decline, but the fact that she's still showing up it just goes to show you that deck's never going to be dead.
I think there's a pretty healthy mix of mid-range. I would say mostly mid-range, but a pretty healthy mix of mid-range and some aggro and control. So, I mean, if this is just like a little glimpse of what the meta is going to be like at Vegas, I think we have pretty healthy choice of decks here.
Yeah, for sure. As someone who tends to favor the blue-green control archetypes, it's very interesting to me to see that across these two top eights, there's 4 different leader and base combinations, but none of them are ECL, when that was out the gate like the front runner because of the new Vader unit to ambush. I'd assume most of these lists, or all of these lists, have the Timely and Vader package, but it's interesting to see, at least in these results, the lists moving towards the higher HP bases in comparison.
Well, that was something that you had said it came up in our testing, where you felt like the ECL deck it didn't have enough life to be able to do the things that, Kira especially wanted to do, where it just felt like you were getting put into check too early and you weren't able to capitalize on, ramping or whatever else the case may be.
Yeah, you definitely can get put in check a lot earlier, but you're able to flip the game a lot earlier and start to stabilize too. If you can get a very good Vader off, the game can just kind of end on the spot sometimes, or so it feels. But I definitely agree that the ECL decks have a very poor matchup into aggro, whether that be the Vaders, or if there's still some people playing Sabine. If there's a Quinlan that wants to go aggressive, maybe they can get under you. We saw there was a Gar that did well in this tournament. Historically, we have a pretty good matchup into Gar, but if they get a little more aggressive, maybe you start having some troubles there. So I definitely see the reasons to move away from ECL, even though it has such a powerful interaction with Vader.
Then I guess enough of the general overview. Let's get into some of these deck lists. So winning The 1.5K, I guess the top 8 split, but this was the top deck after Swiss, so it's still the winner, so to speak. We got On2 Blue. This is our new boogeyman. I don't know if the lists are going to look exactly like this come Vegas time, but these are definitely, I mean, whether it's 50 out of 50 or 40 out of 50, a lot of these cards are going to be seeing a lot of play moving forward. What do you guys like? What do you guys not like?
This list is on no space units, and we're playing 2 main board bombing runs. Also, no Grogu. I know we've seen a lot of Han Blue people testing Grogu. Yeah, I don't know. I understand. I also understand the Force Lightning for Anakin, but there's only one Force Lightning, so you have whatever percentage chance of drawing it and being able to use it or discard it or whatever. But um, I yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this list. It seems a little like there are some choices being made here that I don't totally agree with. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think the person might have maybe known what to expect coming into this because there's some choices like in the sideboard with the aggravated parliamentarian guy where it shuffles the discard pile back into the graveyard. I think that was pretty targeted sideboard card. So maybe some of these choices were made because of insider information. But it does seem like an odd list.
I think that's just a wild take. I think that's just these are just generic cards. I mean, people have been talking about Kylo, so you play a parliamentarian just in case. Bombing run obviously is for Vader. That's something that people have been talking about playing. I think insider information is a crazy take on this. I don't think the list is that weird.
Main board, that seems very. I know what I'm.
No, you have no space units. You have no way to fight in space, so you just hope that bombing run's good enough, and then your other removal's good enough. Bombing run's a no downside card if you don't have anything that it hits.
I mean, bombing run is usually not a great card in general.
But it cleanly answers the Vader.
Yeah, it's a good into Vader. That's it. That's
so you have a main board card that's good against the deck, and it's maybe okay against another couple handful of decks. Like, I don't know. It just seems an odd choice, and it did well. So I don't know. It seems like they knew what to expect because of that. But it is just. I'm assuming just by looking at this, I have no idea where the person is from.
People normally call that a meta call, not cheating. But
no one said what? No one said cheating. Who said cheating?
I mean, insider information.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
You're local to the area, and you know what the local people are playing. That's the insider information that you have. We're not talking like stock trading or anything. No one said anything about cheating other than you just now.
I think insider information's a weird take, but I do think that this deck definitely realizes that Han is weak into Vader, and it can be really hard to race him. So there are definitely some choices made to just hedge that matchup. You're still a force throw deck, so these cards aren't necessarily dead. You're force throwing yourself a lot. It still does 5 to something. Like, that's still really good. Sometimes you don't need to discard a whole dragon. So
I was gonna say that, yeah, you can like toss the bombing run with a force throw, and then you can save your units to play. So I actually don't hate that as much. I'm just kind of realizing that as we're looking at it.
also, like, we're playing a game where you get to resource a card every turn. Like, those are basic lands at the end of the day. They can always just be put face down, and then you get to keep the rest of your good cards in your hand. I'm not a big fan of that like argument for a lot of cards, but for this one where you're specifically hedging towards a very bad matchup, being able to just put it down as a resource when you don't play against that matchup is totally fine.
Is Vader Yellow a really bad matchup? I haven't seen.
No. I don't know, like, one, why you think that's a bad matchup. We're gonna have to go test more, apparently. But like, two, why are we hedging for a matchup that's at least 50-50, if not good? The Vader players are scared of Han, not the Han players scared of Vader. So I'm not really sure what the hedge is for.
Right. It's a choice. You know what I mean? Like, I personally haven't had a ton of issues with Han or with Vader playing with Han. I don't feel like I would need to sideboard or even main deck or sideboard bombing run. I think we can win that matchup more often than not, and it's not necessary. But this person clearly didn't feel that way because that card doesn't mean anything other than I want to beat Vader.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't really know what to say to that other than pretty strongly disagree. But listen, if
Not a
people want
choice
to
I'd
play
make.
at Worlds, please put your bombing runs in the main. It'll be great.
Yeah, again, not a choice I'd make, but at the same time, I think it's interesting to put sideboard cards in your main deck in small numbers to a point because you don't get punished as hard as some other games where like drawing the card can be like the worst when it's not the matchup you want it. But here, I'm drawing 2 cards a turn plus maybe even more with Kiadi. Like this deck's moving through its cards pretty fast.
Yeah.
I mean, putting a sideboard card in your main makes sense if you're expecting to see a large amount of decks that the sideboard card is for.
Have you seen how many members Botha Network has?
Like if there's a specific card, hey, this card beats Han 2 blue, I'm sure people are going to be playing that main board in Worlds. Just because that's probably the deck that you'd expect to see the most. So I think that's what you're saying is making a meta call and tweaking your deck to fit that meta.
I think Han and Vader 4 will have a similar meta percentage at Worlds. I think Han will be higher, but I think Vader is going to be like deck number 2 for sure. So if you're already on Han, hedging for deck number 2 isn't the worst.
That was an interesting take.
Yeah, I think that's a hot take right there. I don't think Vader
400 members.
It's 40, but 400 is pretty close.
Anyway, some other interesting choices. I don't know why we would want to just fight Graveyard Hate when we can just put Rival's Fall in that slot. Let them pay the resources. Rival's Fall's good in other matchups, so I don't know why we have the Parliamentarian. Especially because we can't use Han to cheat it out like it's a 1 mana, you put your graveyard back in, or a terrible card, when it could just be a Rival's Fall in general. Also, a very high number of non-force units with the force base. You have Cassian, you have Ogdo Bogdo, and you have Poe and Crate, but obviously we understand the Crate Dragon. Just seems like this deck might have trouble getting the force, and there's a lot of force payoffs between Mace, Kiadi, Churret, Itinerant Warrior, and I think that's it. But
yeah,
those are 12 cards out of your 50 cards. Like you're going to have one of them in your opening hand, but if you don't have the right early drops, like if you have a Cassian and an Ogdo in your hand, you're not going to have your Churret on, you're not going to be able to heal the Itinerant Warrior, and you're not going to be able to draw your cards on turn 2 with Kiadi. So, an interesting call. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just think that's a very high number of units, and if they're impactful enough, then I could see myself drawing them as well.
I promise I'll be sad if I draw Bombing Run and it's not Grogu when I want it to be Grogu and it's Bombing Run. And I'm sad. I think Grogu's too important for this deck.
Yeah, that's something we didn't even talk about. It was like this list is missing Grogu, which is arguably the best card behind like Kiadi and Force Throw in these Han decks. Is it can swing a lot of matchups. So it was a surprise to see no Grogu here, but maybe it is the first weekend. Maybe they didn't have the card. I'm kind of just grasping at straws here. I'm not sure.
No Grogu is definitely a choice. I don't know why people would make that. I feel like it, especially if we're hedging towards Vader, like with Bombing Run, like to not hedge towards the mirror where Grogu's really good seems kind of crazy. Like, your starts are always going to be worse in the mirror, it feels like, with this deck, but who knows? The one Force Lightning's pretty interesting too. It's expensive, but it's definitely like a flexible removal spell that can do some cool stuff.
The other tournament was Han Blue that got first as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is that list. We got a much different list, surprisingly. Despite both being Han Blues with, the same force base, we're getting two pretty wildly different takes on it. First thing that stands out to me is just the number of twos, the lack of threes, and the number of just like random two ofs and one ofs, and it's a very all over the place deck. But I guess when you have the draw power of Yadi, it makes it so you can find your stuff a little bit easier, and he has a little bit more of a toolbox approach to Han.
This kind of feels to me like it's a more of a test deck list. And I think that's something that I would do too if I was going to a 20 odd player. I think it was a win a box, or maybe it was a win a carbonite box. I would be trying to play some experimental lists. So when I have the 2 Marin, the 2 Ogdo Bogdo, the 2 Red 5, and the 2 Yoda, I'm looking at all of those as my 3 drops going. Oh, and the 2 Ezra and the 1 Cassian are my 3 drops, and I'm looking at them every time going, like, which one would be best? And then you're kind of getting an idea there, which came out very good, which came out not looking so good. By the end of the tournament, you go, oh, maybe the Marin's underperforming, and I was really wishing it was, another Ogdo Bogdo and another Yoda or something. So then now you can cut the Marins for the Ogdo and the Yoda. So I wouldn't think too deep into the twos, other than I'd assume it's a test list, but if it's not, and this is like an actual list, it is a pretty interesting take on it.
I don't think I've realized this before, but Owen is free with Han and essentially searches for a force unit. So if you have him, you can be maybe a little bit lighter on force unit and a little bit aggressive. So able to play Ogdo Bogdo and Cassian. No, it's kind of interesting.
Not just that, it's a free cantrip. You know what I mean? It's pretty much just 0 mana, draw a card, leave a body behind. It's not a terrible idea. I haven't tested it.
The drawing the force unit is when defeated, so you like play him, and then the next turn you run him into something and draw your card. So it's delayed,
Sure.
but you get to gain a little bit of life off of it.
You restore the whole time.
Or you can move the damage off him with the baby.
Sure, yeah.
Now he's just living for a while.
I think I would like the Owen if we had more 2 drops, but we're only playing 2 Yaddle, and you can't force throw with Owen out. I mean, you can. I just wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, if there were more 2 drops, I think I would like Owen a little bit more, just so you have more board presence. Like, the point of playing him for free is that you also want to play a 2 drop and put 2 units into play in the beginning of the game. But
If you just go turn 1, whatever you play, and then turn 2, you could do the Owen plus a 3 drop. It's not that bad.
yeah, sure. I guess that's true.
It is delayed, though. I mean, I'd ideally like to be playing my Owen on 1, like you said. In both of the lists, too, they've been playing Force Lightning, which is interesting. I guess it's just a card to turn on Anakin, and it's good to discard to opposing Force throws. Maybe it gets a little bit of usage out of, like, killing crates and stuff, but every time you play the card, it's a really bad rate because the base is 4 mana for 2 damage, which is bad. And scaling up doesn't make it much better.
I mean, if you get to hit a super laser tech, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, there's a few things that even lower on the curve, it's not terrible to hit, and you can hit them on time. But I definitely see what you're saying. It's not quite the efficient removal that you want it to be. And I guess this deck is just hoping that it can afford to do that. And then discarding it to force throw is very good. But the one list only had 1. This list has 2. I guess it does help with Anakin, but I mean, I don't think that you're turning Anakin into anything reliable. I think it's just interesting. I don't know that it's a choice that I'd make.
You could use 3 resources to attack with your 5/5 Ogdo Bogdo.
Kind of cool. Probably
That's
cuter
terrible.
than it is cool. But
Hit something, kill it, and now you're damaged, and you can attack again next turn.
But it doesn't heal it, so it's gonna stay.
Yeah,
that
it's
low.
got to kill something.
Yeah,
Kill something more than 2 health or 2 power.
No, it's abilities are off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
for
you're
the
right.
attack,
You're right.
so it's gonna just keep that damage on it. So it's really a lot more susceptible.
Yeah, but that might be something you're happy about. Is like
Right?
your Ogdo somehow loses all the damage on it. Maybe there was a baby that pulled it off of it or something, and then you can turn it back on, kill either the baby or like a Yaddle, and then it has 2 damage on it, and like you kind of started the train back up. You want that damage on it. You don't. You're not mad about it most of the time.
Seems pretty bad for a 2-card combo to turn on my 3-mana 5/5, but to each their own.
Yeah, no,
Fortunately,
I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying that the damage being on it is an upside, not a downside, like you're trying to make it out to be.
Just some additional
Yeah,
that the card can provide.
more options are always a good thing, even when the options are bad. Just like having the flexibility of like, oh, this card does this interesting thing in this situation. Like, I've certainly won weird games by doing weird stuff. Just like I didn't ever even thought about this card. You know what I mean? I'm paying however much mana to kill a crate dragon, but that ends up winning the game. You know what I mean? There's just interesting things that like definitely aren't ideal uses of cards, but the fact that there are more options for each card just gives you more flexibility when you're playing.
I just think the lower hanging fruit of it is like turn off Poe text for an attack, turn off Sentinel for turret. Like those are more likely to come up than you turning off the text of your Ogdo. Turning off your Bendu text so you don't wrath your board.
Endu's text is he's a 10/10. Besides that, I mean, he's just a giant monster. If they're
Yep.
letting you attack with him and get that trigger off, you probably in good shape, whether you kill all your own stuff or not.
I'll send it back to you. Better to have more options than not.
Very true. Very, very true. All right, but those are the winning deck lists, or quote unquote winning deck lists, the Han Blue lists. But we got some other interesting ones that we thought we wanted to talk about. Starting with Talzin Green with the Force base. Nicky, our resident blue-green villainy player, got very excited when he saw this. It wasn't Kira, but it's still something for him. Is this kind of scratching the itch for you? Have you tested this deck at all since seeing it? And is it something you're actually considering for Worlds?
I haven't tested the deck, and probably won't very much, but it does look really cool. I mean, it's doing a lot of the things that Blue Green Villainy wants to be doing, but is a little more mid-rangey and then just goes over the top. But it has the 3 Timelies and the 3 Vaders, which is sweet. Its mid-range gets to be a lot better. That 4 resource turn, getting to play Chirrut, Talzin's Assassin, or Darth Tyrannus is sweet. I'm missing the inclusion of resupply here. Usually I would like to be ramping, but not having no resupply is a little bit of an interesting choice, I guess. But I don't hate the early force unit curve. I'd prefer to be playing like Inferno 4 over some of these, but turning on the force is really important. So that's one of the concessions you make when you're trying to build with the force in the Blue Green Villainy show.
And have you tested Graceful Purgil in your sideboard?
But I have put it in lists as a sideboard card, but I haven't actually put it on the table.
I didn't think any of those things were going to see any play whatsoever, but like seeing it here actually does make a little bit of sense.
I mean, it can just like supremely clog a space lane against Vader. They have a bunch of 1/1s attacking, and I'm like, cool, here's a 2/7. Figure it out.
People are scared of Vader Yellow, apparently. We're getting pretty deep into our attack if we're putting Graceful Purgles in and not just counting on our OBs to do it. But
It's not even just OBs, too. Like, Talzin's ability directly counters Vader's ability. But
Maybe it's not just Vader that the Purgil's for, you know what I mean? Sabine can sometimes go space on you and you can have a little bit of trouble with it. Just other space aggro decks, other pilot decks.
For the 5-drop, there's that duck looking force guy. It seems I don't know how I like it. I just noticed it, and I know it seems odd.
It's kind of cool because it makes your like finding your Vaders more consistent. So if you're trying to do the timely Vader thing, that helps a lot. But its stats for 5 are about on rate, so it's not necessarily awful. I've seen some lists playing the new 5 mana 5/5 ambush if your opponent has a force unit. It's Tetra something. I don't remember. I kind of like that card more because most decks will have some random force units, and stuff like Han has a lot of force units. So that card's kind of sweet to just be a 5 mana 5/5 ambusher, kind of doing what Agent Callus was doing last set as a 5 mana 4/4 ambusher. Obviously, it doesn't draw the cards, but its stats are a bit better, so it can kill the 3/5s.
Nikki, what do you think of the inclusion of Eighth Brothers over the Spark of Rebellion, Darth Vader? I know that you had previously discussed, at least with me, about people in some of the Kira chats talking about playing the Eighth Brother. This one, I know you don't get to use the Force ability in Kira, but this one you can use the Force ability. So, how do you feel about the Eighth Brother here?
Yeah, on a baseline, I think Eighth Brother looks a lot better in this deck than it does in Kira because of, like you said, I can actually use the Force with Talzin in this list. I really like the body. The 6 mana 5/7 ambusher. That's what we get out of Vader. Obviously, it doesn't spawn another body with it, but it's also 1 resource cheaper, and it has the upside of being able to use the Force. Uh, it helps you take control of the board a little bit earlier, seeing as it comes out on 6. So I haven't actually like tested the card myself, but in theory, I like it, and especially since we can use the Force in this deck, I like it a lot more.
Yeah, a trend I've been noticing with some of these blue, just like blue decks for villains in general, is they're not doing the same thing that we saw with like the 2 previous Han lists, where they're playing an off color or off aspect card in like Force Lightning to be able to play Anakin and get both of his modes. And I think you're already in this list, you're already wanting to use your timelies for Darth Vader, but I think using a timely on an Anakin with a some hero card in your bin. I know maybe it's a little bit harder to put hero cards in your bin here, but I don't know. Do you think Anakin is worth exploring in these types of green blue villain decks?
Guys, I just realized that the parliamentarian doesn't just hedge for Kylo, it hedges for Anakin too.
True.
You get nothing.
Nice.
If they only play 1 Force Lightning, I mean, if the thing's gone, the thing's gone.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think Anakin can be interesting in some of the blue-green villainy shells. I think Kylo uses it best since Kylo's ability allows you to cycle upgrades. You can just play a couple hero upgrades, and if you find them early, you can cycle them and then turn Anakin's ability on. But I'm not sure I would go forcing it into Kira or into like this deck list where there's the hero cards are kind of more difficult to use. Like Force Lightning is a bad rate, but some of the hero cards you'd also be playing are a pretty bad rate, and we don't have any ways to self discard in this deck. Unlike the Han lists we were looking at, where they had one had Baron and then one had, or I guess both had Poe, and one of them had Marin. So that was at least one way to self discard. Whereas in this list, you'd actually just have to play the card to get it into the graveyard or reinforcement walker it, but that's just way too late.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it is just going to be harder for the villain decks to play Anakin because we have the ability to use Poe, and I think right now Force Throw is kind of set up a little bit better in red hero decks between like Han and Anakin Skywalker from set 3 and Quinlan right now. but I think somewhere maybe down the line, if we get a hero card that is easy to slot into a villain deck and maybe play Anakin, I think there's some potential for that.
Now the moment Mike's been waiting for. We got the mall list. Mike, real quick, initial thoughts.
Ew. What is this?
It's Maul Blue.
This is
What do you mean?
Why are we
top
playing
8 finishing
resupply?
Darth Maul Blue.
Why is there a
Ramp,
resupply in this
obviously.
deck?
I didn't even see it until you pointed it out.
You can resupply on
We
your
have-
5 resource turn and then flip your mall. Isn't that amazing?
No, it's not.
It's a combo. It's a combo.
It's a
Combo.
combo.
And we're like playing discard, but not well. This is
We got the
so
Jedi
strange.
and the pillage, and then we just get to play big ships.
Why Devastator? What is happening?
You got that indirect damage in, dog.
That is so much top end.
It's a lot, yeah.
We go from 4 to 8. Like where are the other
No,
cards?
resupply's a 5. Resupply's
Yeah,
a five.
resupply.
All right,
Resupply
all
on
right.
5.
Yeah. Great, guys. Well done.
We figured it out.
The Force Lightning is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That'll help.
Who just
Maybe.
put out a Vader or a Maul Blue list? Is this what it looked like? I missed that.
No,
video.
no. His was actually like reasonable.
There's a Kiadi money in our
A
sideboard.
resupply?
What the?
Oh God, I didn't realize that. Only 2
Well, if we
turrets.
have the
Like,
Force.
oh my God, please, just put the 3rd turret in your deck. What is? I don't even know what No Bargain says. Each opponent discards a card from their hand, and you draw a card. Oh my God.
It's a
Great,
two
what do you
for
mean?
one. 2 for 1. That doesn't enter the
Yeah.
board, but
Oh, I thought that was like merciless contest where each,
No, I wish it was.
because like, oh, so you kill something and then like take advantage of like the witches on the feet triggers, but no.
Besides the glaring issues I see here, this is also just a testament to the force, the villain force decks, where we're playing acolytes and Night Sister Warrior and just like not great early game units to be able to use the force, and then we're using it on Darth Maul's ability, which is like fine. You just hope your opponent has two units in play, so you don't have to ping your own thing. But yeah, I don't know what the vision is here.
I think this is much more a testament of 22-person tournaments and very, very, very early meta stuff. This player is probably just good in skill gapping all his opponents, so it kind of didn't matter what cards were in front of him, and he just wanted to have some fun. But he top-aided with it.
your
Yeah.
units just suck so bad that you're fine pinging your own stuff, I guess.
Well, Sage is shielded, so I mean, you don't even have to do damage to that one when you ping it.
I might vomit.
I'm really glad we didn't let Mike look at this list before we started the pod and just let him
No,
be excited.
Yeah, no, I did, and then I was like, oh, I need to get like a raw first take here, so I'm not saying anything.
I was so happy to look at this deck and be like, oh, somebody figured out how to like play villain cards like with the Force. This is gonna be cool. And then I saw a green card and a hero card and nothing 5, 6, 7 costed on the curve. And I changed my mind. Don't play villain until they print better cards in the Force.
I'm pretty sure there's just cards that you can fill in that curve with, and they're just not there. Like,
I mean,
like there's
ball unit for one.
yeah, there's good cards at that mana cost.
I mean, Villainy got the best 2-drop in the Force with Karis, didn't they?
Huh?
I don't think that's the best one. I don't think
I
it's
would
better
argue-
than Yaddle or even
Yeah, I would
Addy.
argue Yaddle.
No, it's definitely better than Addy. It's not better than Yaddle though.
I mean, it can kill a 4/4
On
That's
attack.
on attack, kill a 4/6. -2, -2. No, never mind.
It
4/4.
trades with a 4/4? Yeah. Is
All right.
4-4 a good stat line? Aren't we in a 3-5 world?
Well, Kiadi's a 4-4.
Kiadi's a
That's
Like
true.
Kiadi's usually a 4-2.
shielded guy's a 4-4.
I've never seen that
Shielded
man.
guy's a so that maybe you're killing two things.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
this kills two 4-2s. You know, if they go like itinerant warrior and Kiadi, and they cheated them both out for some reason. This
And
thing swings into the Kiadi, kills the shielded warrior. I mean, I get what you're saying,
they just shut
but
their eyes.
I still don't think it's better.
They just
Yeah,
shut their
exactly.
eyes
Like
to the
they
Karis
walked
on.
right into that one.
They
They
didn't
don't
want to
even look.
attack the Karis, not let them get the Force, not let them kill their other guy. Yeah, if I play against bad players every game, I'm sure I can figure it out.
If you think this player didn't play against any bad players on his route to top 8ing with this, you're crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Top 8 just means he was top half of almost half the field. It was a 21-person tournament.
I know guys with hundreds of top 8s that still aren't good, so it's not. I mean, top 8ing isn't necessarily the.
I maybe he got the round one bye.
No, he didn't. He beat the Hum 2 player that got first.
That's
Anyway,
crazy.
moving on
The
to our
secret
next
Han
segment.
Yeah, these
All
these
right.
lists or something.
Maybe
Yeah.
this guy should have emailed us, gave us his deck list, and we could have worked on it a little bit. Which, woo, somebody did. All right. We got an email from one of our locals who saw the segment on now 2 casts ago, where we worked on the other guy, Will's deck, talked about it, thought about some stuff we would do differently, and he wanted us to do the same for him. So before I read this, if you guys want us to do the same for you, you know how to reach out to us. We shout out all the social medias and stuff. Just send us a message, send us your list, give us a little quick blurb about it, and maybe we'll do yours on the podcast next. But getting into Mark's message, thanks for taking a look at this deck, guys. As some of you know, I've been playing a lot of Anakin since Set 3, and I'm really looking to see what new tools can be added to him now that Set 5 is out. I haven't gotten to play many games with this yet, since I'm mostly just theory crafting for now, but I really like including the new Quinlan unit, since Anakin gives him that +2 attack to trigger his ability. I'm curious to see what other things might be good to put in there. The sideboard listed on here isn't an actual sideboard, it's mostly just cards I thought could be either good sideboard or maybe main deck. Mostly interested in the new Chariot, Mace, and Kith's ship. Would love to get this list ready for a showdown this set and when PQs start to roll around. Thanks again, guys. Good luck at Galactic to those who are going. So, all of us know Mark. He's one of our locals. He shows up to weeklies and any larger tournaments that we have. And he does love playing him. Some Blue Force especially. But Anakin, I've seen him on several times. This list, I mean, I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with it, but it's definitely starting out in a much better, much less raw position than the last one we did. So I think this list looks all right. There's nothing that like jumps out to me. What do you guys? Any big holes? Cheer it for
Sure.
one.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know where I want to fit him in, but I know I want him for sure. Unlike the Han lists we've been looking at, Quinlan does look very good here, so the 4-drop that was already very clogged becomes even more crowded when we're trying to fit in Kiadi, Churret, possibly some Quinlans, maybe even some Itinerant Warriors, since that's a very good card too. It's like you do have to make some very difficult choices at the 4-drop slot.
I actually don't think I'm that happy about Quinlan. Like, yes, it looks like you're getting your combo here, where you're turning on Quinlan with your leader ability, but Quinlans that are getting buffed really want to go face for that damage, because that's where the damage is going. So like trading and like pinging their base, you're playing to the board and getting damage, so you're like 50-50 in your game plans. I don't know if I'd really be excited in my Anakin deck doing that, instead of playing like a shielded unit or something that is better just trading and then can kind of continue my game plan of playing to the board, controlling the board, and then letting me get to my Anakin flip turn with a little bit of damage on my base and finishing the game that way.
I mean, it helps you stabilize the board while still keeping the base damage on the base going for when you're flipping with Anakin. Uh, Usually, when you flip with Anakin, you want to win that turn, and nickeling diming your way there helps that plan. So I do like the Quinlan in the deck. Definitely worth playing with it and see how it goes. There's a lot of 2 drops in the deck. There's 12 of them with and maybe too much. Because you do, it seems like you do want a turn 3 to be your full turn 3. So you may not do 2 drop, 1 drop. I don't know.
I think 11 to 12 is the sweet spot for 2 drops. I know we've been testing a lot of Han, so we aren't necessarily used to a traditional curve, but I think 11 to 12 is kind of where you want to be. I'm looking at these
Yep.
Anakin interceptors here. It's a good card, especially since you're going to have damage on your base for Anakin, but it is something that's going to not allow you to turn on the Force on turn 1. Maybe that's not a super big deal, but then 2/3 of your 3 drops are also non-Force units. So if you curve Anakin's Interceptor into Village Protectors, then on 4 you can't play your Kiadi and draw cards. Your Turret isn't going to be protected. Your Itinerant Warriors aren't going to do anything. So if we're to introduce more cards, we'd have to change the curve a little bit.
In this current list, he only has Kiadi. So it's not that we're trying to, and Shatterpoint, but it's not that they're trying to use the Force as consistently as some of like the Han decks. I don't think that's as big of an issue.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying if we were to look at adding more Force cards, we would probably also want to look at adjusting the curve.
There's only so many good Force units on 2. We might end up like having to play something like Barris or something like just a not good unit, but or Gifted Urchin or something. I think we run out once we get past Addy, Sage, and Yaddle for Red Blue Hero.
Yeah, I guess that's true, isn't it?
The thing here is the biggest reason that you're losing access to so many turn 1 Force units is because you don't get to play them for 1 resource less with Han. I think Anakin's in a bad spot only because Han is so good right now. Han just does what Anakin wants to do a little bit better. And the saving, like, that was kind of always the case, but Anakin's flip turn was so strong. And, like, now as we go into this Force Throw meta where we're seeing Force Throw more and more, like, Anakin's not necessarily living to attack. Like, even having the Bravado in the deck is probably a little bit aggressive because attacking once, I'm pretty happy because they're going to have way more ways to kill it than they had previously.
I'm struggling to see the real benefit for the Force with the current list we have here. I think Chirrut's very good. Kiadi is very good. Shatterpoint is also a fair card to play. But like you said, Will, I think Han is just in a better position if you want to be playing Blue Force or Red Blue Force. I think if I was personally going to be playing Anakin, I think I would still stick with the 30 health base. So that way I can play units like Cham. I can play the Village Protectors like it's in this list. Sabine unit is probably one of my favorite turn 1 plays because it just trades into so much. That's just how I personally feel about Anakin at the moment.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
our biggest thing would be choose if you want the Force or not. If you want to go Force, I would add some more of the Force stuff and make sure that your early plays allow you to generate it. if you decide that you're not wanting to go Force and you go with like 30 base, then you get to cut some of the weaker cards that get the Force for a stronger thing like a Sabine. Like Mace Windu would be a great inclusion on the top end of this deck. I think maybe even over Obi-Wan right now, just because it immediately impacts the board with a kill spell as opposed to come get me for that 4 damage. And it has Overwhelm, which you want with your Anakin. You can run over the top of something and put the damage on their base and then flip. So you have a lot of different options if you decide to go more Force oriented with those cards. Obviously, like a card like Kanan that is Force but also cares about Spectres, like that's when you're kind of split. Like, do I play a Sabine unit instead? Do I play more Force cards? Like, I think that's the biggest question that this deck needs to answer is it worth it to play the Force stuff? If it is, lean into it heavier. If it's not, get the extra points of health on your base, play some of the better like cards like the 3/3 shielded guy, just some things like that, just so you can consistently get to Anakin.
As the list is currently configured, though, I'm not sure we're actually giving up much to use the Force. All of these new Force units, Adigalia, Yoda, or not Yoda, Yaddle, and Secretive Sage, are all cards that we're pretty happy playing in an Anakin deck because they can hit for 4 and won't die back to a turn 1 play. So these are like active upgrades for the deck. So I'm not sure I would look at them as a downside. And if you don't want to lean super hard into the Force, your curve doesn't have to be perfect as long as you have like a good number of early game Force units, which he does here. He has 12 of them before you get to that critical 4 resource turn. So if you think Kiadi-Mundi is that busted of a card that you want to throw in 3 Kiadi-Mundi and all you're trading for it is 2 health, I don't hate it. I think the other Force payoffs are really strong, and I would lean more into those. But as currently configured, I don't think we're doing anything wrong necessarily.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're doing anything wrong here. I think if we want the Force, we want to use the Force. Like you said, we want to lean more into it. We want chariots. We maybe want some maces. We want those payoffs to be good, if not, great. I like the idea of putting the Mace Windu unit in here because he's the perfect unit you kind of want with Anakin. You get to kill something when you play him, and then he's a 6/6 overwhelm that you can use Anakin's action to make into an 8/6 attack and still do damage to base. So I like the idea of adding Mace Windu into this list.
Yeah, overwhelm units in general are going to be good with Anakin. If the leader turn is more of a liability, being a force throw meta, maybe cutting the lightsabers for more units that impact the board, like Mace, or the warrior, to instead of just going tall, you just go wide and not really focus on Anakin flipping and finishing the game. We're red heroic, so I agree. We should definitely be using the Force. We're using our early units to kill their early units, so maybe Chirrut is not a no-brainer like we're thinking, since we're going to be more aggressive to killing their units. Even with the forces with me, our units tend to survive when we attack. So using the Force, but not for like Kiadi-Mundi and Mace as our Force payoffs, and cut the sabers and I don't know, something else, maybe the Barada.
Or like
Oh,
Obi-Wan Vader's Bright.
yeah, and I do like K2, like efficient overwhelm units that you can give Anakin's +2 that kills a unit and still hits the base. I think those are always good in an Anakin deck.
I think the issue with something like K2, especially now, is just like Nicky was saying earlier, that 4-drop slot is very crowded. And like without the ability of Han to be able to start playing 4-drops on 3 resources, you end up without being able to deploy your threats efficiently. Like you end up leaving resources up. You just don't curve out the way you want to if all of a sudden we're playing 12 or 16 fours. What do you guys think about the space stuff in this deck? I mean, pretty much every list we've seen up to this point has had almost 0 ships and even just hedges towards, like bombing run and stuff. This is kind of taking a different approach to the space game. And then he even mentioned Kit's ship too, so potentially he's thinking about adding even more space to it. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, space is a good way to attack right now. I feel everything is being concentrated to the ground, so you just go to the other front, and if it's exposed, you can get some easy wins. I'm not a big fan of Kit's ship. Can't really, I don't remember the stats, but I don't think the stats are that crazy. And I don't feel there's going to be the removal of equipment that high on the curve to be very good. Uh, so I'm not a big fan of that ship, but going space, I like going space, so I'm not opposed to it.
The Kit ship's definitely a hedge towards the Kylo deck. Because the Kylo deck can kind of gum up your day when he puts down a Kylo and throws 3 upgrades on it.
I don't like the ships. I think Conquer Dawn is similar to the conversation we just had about Chirrut. Like, it's gonna have the same stats now attacking and defending into units at 3-4 for 3, which is fine, but maybe not really where we want to be. Like, you could just play Red 5 instead, which is a good card against Han 2, and it is now going to hit for 5 on the offensive. Right, that's a 3 CMC card.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just play Red 5 over Conquer Dawn pretty much every day of the week. And then Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite I don't like either. I'm not a big fan of these kind of medium game ships. Like, the Hammerhand is something that Han gets to take advantage of with the Ki-Adi-Mundi cards because they get to play it earlier. But you don't really have that option in this deck, and that's kind of the only ship that is really seeing play in other red-blue hero decks right now. So I'm not really interested. Again, I'm a Kylo hater. You have the Rivals Fall. If you're worried about Kylo decks, just play Rivals Fall. Let them put their upgrades on their guy. Kill it. Laugh at them. Kill them. And walk away with your win.
One relevant thing with the ships is that you almost don't get to use Anakin's ability that much just because not enough people are in space. So you're almost turning off your own leader by playing ships.
I mean, or it's just a way to respect the decks that are going to space. Where it's like, I want to have at least a couple spaceships so that I can get up there and continue using my Anakin ability.
Just throw a couple bombing runs in your deck.
Yeah, I'm sure we haven't made fun of that before.
I have no problem with bombing run in the sideboard. Especially if
No,
you're
definitely.
like, I'm cutting my Conquer Dawns. I'm cutting my Obi-Wan Aether Sprite. I don't have Anakin's Interceptor in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that sounds better.
But again, you have to make those decisions, what decks you're targeting, kind of that in mind, and I think that's something that we miss. With his kind of write-up, like what he's trying to accomplish in terms of decks he's looking to beat. He's looking to take it to like semi-competitive events, right? And this is a list that can definitely do well at those kind of things, because I don't think we would take even decks that we're considering for Galactics to be 100% to those kind of tournaments. I'd like to play, obviously, Rex, we've talked about, things like that. So there's that kind of fun balance that you have when constructing these decks as well. But in terms of competitive advantage, these are the suggestions that we have.
Yeah, I think we got a really good framework of a deck here. And then it's just more figuring out if you want to lean more into the Force or lean away from the Force to get those couple extra HP points back. But I don't think, the list looks pretty good. I do agree. I do think that the list looks good and that it's a very clean starting point. I like Eric's suggestions of moving away from some of the more cute cards that try to make a very good flip turn by taking out the Jedi lightsabers and maybe the bravado and just getting more units in there. But other than that, I like the current look of the list.
So yeah, that about wraps up what we think of this deck. Mark, thank you very much for sending this in. We definitely appreciate it. Gives us something to talk about, and we're always happy to help. You know what I mean? If anybody else has any similar situations, they got a deck, they are wondering about a couple things, or they just want to hear our thoughts about it, like I said before, send it in to us, send us an email, hit us up on any of the social medias or whatever, and we'd be happy to go through. You know what I mean? Whether we maybe just send you a message or maybe we end up making a segment of podcast. So that's going to do it for us this week. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Everybody who made it to the end, as always, thank you. Share us with your friends. All the YouTube stuff, like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps our numbers, which really boosts us up and makes it a lot easier for us to all get together and spend the time doing this. It's been a lot of fun, and we want to keep it up. Hit us up on social medias. Like I said, send us an email if you got a deck list, if you want something you want us to talk about, even if it's not a deck list, just maybe cards you want to hear our thoughts on next time spoiler season comes around, whatever the case may be. Hit us up. We love answering emails and doing viewer stuff. But until next time, we will see you guys on Against the Galaxy podcast.
Peace.